There is a question that everyone feels, but few people ask. If technology is getting better and productivity is at an all-time high, why is life getting harder? Why does a house cost 10 times what it did for your parents? Why does your savings account lose purchasing power faster than you can fill it? We are told this is just the economy. We are told it's bad luck or supply chains. But what if I told you that the decline of your wealth isn't an accident? What if the financial system you live in wasn't built to store your labor, but to slowly steal it? To understand why you feel like you're running on a treadmill, we have to look at the engine that powers the modern world. We have to look at the lie of infinite growth. To understand the trap, we have to go back to 1971. Before this moment, money was a receipt. It was a claim on something real, usually gold. If you held $1, you held a piece of the pie. But on August 15, 1971, that link was severed. Money stopped being a store of value and became a tool of policy. The dollar became fiat, let be it, value by decree. But here is the catch that they don't teach you in school. In a fiat system, money comes into existence through debt. When you take out a loan, the bank doesn't give you money from a vault. They type numbers into a computer. They create new money, out of thin air, backed by your promise to pay it back. This sounds like magic, but there is a mathematical curse hidden inside it. If money is created as debt, then there is always more debt in the world than there is money to pay for it. Why? Because of interest. Imagine a world where only $100 exists. You borrow it all from the bank at 5% interest. You owe the bank $105, but only $100 exists in the entire world. Where do you get the extra $5? You can't. It doesn't exist. The only way to pay the interest is to borrow more money. And now the total debt is even higher. This is the modern economy. It is a Ponzi scheme of necessity. To prevent the system from collapsing, the money supply must expand forever. If we stopped printing money, or if we stopped taking on debt, the liquidity would dry up and the mathematical impossibility of paying the interest would crash the entire world. This is why they target 2% inflation. They aren't trying to make things more expensive because they hate you. They are destroying the value of your money because the system requires it to survive. They need to print away the debt, and your savings are the collateral damage. So, who benefits? In the 18th century, an economist named Richard Cantillon noticed a pattern. When new money is printed, it doesn't appear in everyone's pocket at once. It goes to the insiders first. Government contractors, big banks, the financial elite. They get to spend the money before prices go up. They buy assets, they buy houses, they buy stocks. By the time that money trickles down to you, in your paycheck, prices have already risen to match the new money supply. You are getting the leftovers of a feast you paid for. This is why the stock market can be at an all-time high while the average family can't afford groceries. The stock market isn't measuring the health of the economy. It's measuring how much currency has been devalued. We are living through a historical anomaly. Every fiat currency in history has eventually returned to its intrinsic value, zero. The Roman denarius, the French assignat, the Weimar mark. They all followed the same pattern. Excessive debt followed by excessive printing, followed by collapse. If you look at the timeline of human civilization, a terrifying pattern emerges. The Portuguese Empire, the Spanish Empire, the Dutch, the British. They all rose to dominate the globe. They all controlled the world's reserve currency. And they all collapsed. There is a life cycle to a superpower. It is as biological as the life of a human being. It is born in hardship. It grows through discipline. It peaks in luxury. And it dies in debt. If you live in the West, you have probably felt a shift in the air. The institutions feel shaky. The money feels worth less. The politics feel more volatile. You are told these are isolated problems. But what if I told you that we are simply following a script written 2,000 years ago? We are currently living through the final act of a monetary cycle. To understand where we are going, we have to look at the empires that walked this path before us. Because the math of collapse never changes. Stage 1. The Age of Sound Money. Every great empire begins with the same foundation: hard money and production. Before Rome ruled the world, it used the as rude, lumps of bronze, then the silver denarius. Before Britain ruled the waves, the pound sterling was exactly that, a pound of silver. Before America became a superpower, the dollar was defined as 371.25 grains of silver. Why does this matter? Because when money is real, wealth cannot be faked. To get rich in stage 1, a nation must produce more than it consumes. It must export. It must save. This creates a culture of discipline. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, America became the factory of the world. It owned the gold because it made the things the world wanted. This is the golden age. The currency is trusted globally because it is backed by reality. But this success creates a trap. As the nation becomes rich, it becomes expensive. Labor costs rise. And eventually, the empire decides it wants to do more than just trade. It wants to rule. Stage 2. The overextension. This is the turning point, the exorbitant privilege. When a country holds the world reserve currency, it realizes something intoxicating. It can print money to buy things from other countries, and those other countries have to accept it. Rome realized it could tax its provinces to fund its legions. The US realized it could export dollars to fund its military. But maintaining a global empire is expensive. You need garrisons in 800 locations around the world. You need to fund proxy wars. You need to pay for a massive bureaucracy at home. Eventually, the bill for the empire becomes larger than the profit from the trade. In Rome, this happened when they stopped expanding and started just defending borders. The loot stopped coming in, but the soldiers still needed to be paid. In the US, we saw this begin in the 1960s, the guns and butter policy. We wanted a great society at home and a war in Vietnam abroad. We couldn't afford both. So the government faced a choice. Choice A, austerity. Admit we are broke, spend less, retreat. Choice B, cheat. Empires always choose option B. Stage 3, the debasement. The Romans didn't have printing presses, but they had clipping. Nero began mixing base metals into the silver coins. The coin looked the same. It had the emperor's face on it, but the value inside was gone. They used this new money to pay the soldiers and the public workers. For a while, nobody noticed. The party continued. But slowly, the merchants realized the coins were junk, so they raised prices. In the modern world, we don't clip coins. We lower interest rates and expand the balance sheet. This is the era of financialization. When you can no longer generate wealth by making things because your labor is too expensive, you generate wealth by inflating assets. This is why from 1980 to today, the financial sector grew to consume the entire economy. This stage is characterized by massive inequality. Why? Because the printed money goes to the asset holders, the Cantillon Effect. The rich get richer because the currency is failing, not because they are productive. The middle class gets squeezed. This leads to the bread and circuses phase. Rome gave out free grain and gladiator games to keep the angry mob from revolting. We have stimulus checks and endless entertainment, but the underlying rot remains. The debt is compounding faster than the economy can grow. Stage 4, the crack-up boom. This brings us to today, the final stage. Ludwig von Mises called it the crack-up boom. This happens when the debt interest becomes mathematically unpayable. Currently, the US government pays more on interest payments than it does on its entire military budget. It is a debt spiral. To pay the interest, they must print more. But printing more causes inflation, which raises interest rates, which makes the debt even harder to pay. Trust is the only thing holding the fiat system together. In the final stage, foreign nations start to opt out. We see the BRICS nations buying gold. We see central banks dumping US treasuries. They are watching the Roman Empire dilute the silver, and they are refusing to sell their grain for worthless coins. When the world sends those dollars back home, the inflation that we exported for 50 years will wash back onto our shores. Conclusion: the Great Reset. This sounds terrifying, and for the unprepared, it is. But for the financial historian, this is simply the turning of the wheel. The end of the American fiat empire does not mean the end of the world. It means a transfer of wealth. The greatest transfers of wealth in history happened during currency collapses. Wealth moves from those who hold paper promises to those who hold real assets, from the creditor to the debtor, from the complex to the simple. The system is designed to keep you asleep until the very end. They will tell you inflation is transitory. They will tell you the banking system is sound. History tells us otherwise. The cycle is ending. The music is stopping. Don't be the one left holding the paper.